to Blazor puzzle number 7.
Already 7. Holy crow.
Jeff, are you having fun?
I am. There's been a lot of neat things that we've gotten into, we've explored as part of these puzzles.
A lot of great feedback from our listeners, too. They really like these things.
And some of the feedback we got on this past week's puzzle, there were even some coding suggestions about how to improve the application.
Yeah, we like that. Do we want to talk about .NET Conf?
Oh my gosh, let's.
Yeah.
So .NET Conf is coming up November 14, 15, and 16, right? This is the big one. This is the announcement, the release of .NET 8, brand new updates to Blazor, ASP.NET, and all the other fun things around .NET C# and whatnot. So November 14, 15, 16, 2023, you're going to be able to watch it live on YouTube, Twitch, and the .NET Conf website.
And are we doing something?
We are.
At .NET Conf?
There's going to be a Blazor puzzle as part of .NET Conf. Look for us on day 3 of the event.
That's so cool. All right, so tell us about last week's puzzle.
So this was interesting, right? We had this grid that was put together, and we wanted to be able to pass information down through the grid that would add a little bit of style to the header here. And the grid component is isolated. It's in a class library, and we don't really want to expose some of those child components outside the library. So how do we make this property for the header style? How do we make that available elsewhere in the use of the grid?
Right. So there's like 4 levels deep here. There's index, where we define the grid. There's the grid in its own library, and that defines a grid header. And the header has this head with the header row,
passing a collection of column information down. And that whispered down the lane passing of parameters feels a little tedious. Do we really want to pass that class through all of those features?
Yeah. So what was the answer?
So the answer we were looking for was, let's turn that CSS class into a cascading parameter. So this is a feature that's been available in Blazor from the beginning that allows you to specify a cascading value in an HTML-like element inside your Blazor code that you want to pass through all the child components that are inside those tags in the cascading value.
So the question is now, where do we define that cascading value? Could we do it all the way up in index?
Our suggestion was, let's place it in the grid so that it's isolated and the index doesn't have to know about that.
All right. And so we'll do that right here in the table?
Yep. So let's insert a line before line 4 and place a cascading value. There you go. And take the ending tag and just put it after the grid header.
Right. So we're cascading around the grid header.
So that CSS class parameter is available to all the components between the start of the cascading value on line 4 and the components up to the closing tag on line 6.
So it would be available in the grid header if we wanted to create a cascading parameter here.
Yep.
It would be available in the header row, which is where we're defining this CSS class. Okay, so cascading parameter name equals, right?
Yep. And I think you called it CSS class.
So there it is. It's blue. So this is coming from the CSS class name that we specified.
Right. This is a great feature to allow you to pass data around through your component hierarchy, which can get a little daunting, and you don't know where exactly in that hierarchy you may want to pick off one of those values to use.
Right. Exactly. This just makes it available to everybody.
Yep. So, Carl, I know we got a few emails on this.
Yes.
Who's the big winner on this one?
Well, this week's winner is, wait for it, drum roll please, Brendan Parker.
Brendan!
Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Florida. Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So because he was picked from all the right answers, he's going to get one of these, a coveted Blazor puzzle mug as well as this wonderful t-shirt from DevExpress
Awesome.
that says, I'd rather be coding. So, Jeff, you have for this week a continuation of this particular puzzle.
So we had some really great feedback about that last puzzle. Folks were saying things like, gosh, I'd really rather have my cascading values inside of some sort of a class. So it's not just a string that's being passed around.
Right.
That way I can have kind of a collection, a facade around the various things that I may want to expose throughout my entire hierarchy. Makes a lot of sense. And I wanted to take that and just go a step further and scratch a little bit of an itch in there that is a feature that I know a lot of folks want in their Blazor applications. So in this sample, I took the puzzle that we had, and you see it's still named Puzzle 6 and Puzzle Library 6, but I extended it and let's put a footer on this. Okay. So I added a footer class called Grid Footer.
Here's that Grid Footer class.
Yep, there it is
Royal
on
blue,
110.
Color white, underline.
It's the same
it's
thing.
the same as
right
Grid Header. Okay.
Yep. So when we dig into the library and we look at the grid, I put in that cascading value that we just learned about in Puzzle 6. But
Right.
if we scroll down to the parameters, you'll see I'm receiving that footer class as a string, and I put it into an object called footer style. You see it there on line 55 and 56, as well as 47 there, a little private field for us to work with.
Let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
Just a class with a couple parameters, couple properties for us to work with.
Okay.
But I set up inside the grid now. I now have a footer that we've added on. You see it there on lines 26 through 28 with a cascading value, just like we learned about. And I'm going to pass through that footer style object into a grid footer component.
So now you have two cascading values.
Right. And they're behaving in two different parts of the grid. Now, if we look at the grid footer component, what you're going to see is I'm receiving that cascading parameter. It's an internal footer style. I just called it style for the purposes of this.
Okay.
And I'm using that to set up the the call span that we have there on line 3, based on the number of columns that we have. The footer class, put that on the TR there. We know how to do that. Okay. But what I want to do here, Carl, and I know you've built websites that have this kind of feature. I want to be able to turn on dark mode and light mode with a little checkbox. So I've got a checkbox here in the footer that I want to be able to click and set a CSS class that's up in the grid. So we're down in the child component here, but I want to walk up to the grid. And inside the grid.razor file, there on line 3, you see there's a class on the table. How do I set that class based on whether I've checked that checkbox or I haven't? So there's a little field there on line 49. I have it set to blank to start here, but I want to write a little bit of code so that my child component, grid footer, and the checkbox there can set that field appropriately, whether we want dark mode or light mode. And as you showed in the app CSS, there's already just a little bit of a CSS class defined there with dark mode. And it's just setting the background color. So what do you think?
And this is cool. I mean, what you're doing is, like you said, you're reaching up from the footer, which is, 3 or 4 levels down from index.
Yep.
And you want to have this checkbox change a value that's in the grid.
That's in the grid. That's in a parent component. How do we do that?
Yeah. How do you do that? That's the question. A good one, Jeff. Now, if you know the answer, don't post it on social media because that would ruin it for everybody. Instead, send your answer by email to Jeff and I at blazorpuzzle at appvnext.com. And if you get it right, you'll go in the pool and we'll pick a random winner for the next Blazor puzzle mug and t-shirt.
You know what? If you do solve it, do us a favor. Put a post on social media with a picture of your solution. Not the code, but with dark mode applied and the checkbox checked.
That's a great idea. And by the way, please do use social media to get us some more eyeballs, because, you know, this is only show 7, and we think this is a good idea. We want to continue doing it. So the more eyeballs we get, the better chance that's going to happen.
Use hashtag BlazorPuzzle, whether you're on Mastodon, you're on Blue Sky, you're on Threads, you're on Twitter, you're on X, whatever they're calling it next week, Carl, I don't know.
TwitX.
That's right. Hashtag BlazorPuzzle and show us a screenshot of your application working.
And of course, if you have any of your own puzzles you want to suggest, please write them on the back of a $50 bill and send them to blazorpuzzle@appvnext.com. I don't know how you're going to do that, but, you know, it's just a joke. Funny. Okay, guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Alrighty, take care.
See ya. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out blazortrain.com and the .NETshow.com for more great content.